As I'm growing older, I'm just seeing like all these jobs I work at like don't really mean much. Like it just helps pay my bills and helps me like stay afloat and pays for the roof on my head. But it's like, what else does it give?
Hey, I don't give a what nobody say. It has never been this expensive to live, ever. Like in no era when motherfuckers was making $1 an hour, it was never this expensive to live.
Prices have more than doubled since 1995. For example, $1,995 in 1995 is equivalent to purchasing power of $4,229 in 2025.
Why is being alive so damn expensive? I'm not even having a good time. I can't stand when people text me talking about what you doing after work. I'm going fucking home. What you want to do? Because it costs too much to fucking stop anywhere along that route from my work to my house. You make one stop, $50. $50. You ain't even got a bag of shit. You got like 2 items and it's like $50.
I'm on one this morning. I just need to rant. I'm so tired of quite literally everything just going up in pricing. This whole year, starting in March, I've had increases in like everything. Increases that I was not expecting whatsoever. And when I tell you my jaw drops with how much money it was per household, I'm in a condo. So I barely have like a full freaking roof on my house. $12,000, $12K. Do I just have that lying around right now? No.
Bro, how are people making it? If you making $30 an hour, it's weird to ask that, but how are you making it? After you pay your rent, $1,500 a month, that's on the low side. Car note, $500 a month. Phone bill, $100 a month. Insurance, gas, food, electricity, health insurance, all these day-to-day expenses. How are people making it?
As I'm growing older, I'm just seeing like all these jobs I work at like don't really mean much. Like it just helps pay my bills and helps me like stay afloat and pays for the roof on my head. But it's like, what else does it give? And I think that's what a lot of people are realizing is like you get like 25 or $30 an hour, if not more, maybe even $100,000. But it's like, shit, what can I get with it when everything is so expensive these days? Houses are $500,000 and they're in some areas maybe $300,000 and depending on the area. But it's like, is it really worth it for some house? You're paying so much for just like to live or like own something, and like all these taxes and insurance and bills. It's just like, holy shit, what am I even working for? And that's why I'm just seeing like a lot of homeless people like that just give up. Like it's crazy.
So he seemed like he was a little bit all over the place, but his main point, I think, is that what is he working for? And it sounds like he needs purpose. I think we all need purpose. Times are tough, things are expensive. Yes, it's rough, especially if you're a single person. And I think that a lot of us are searching for purpose, and a lot of us, majority of our day is spent working. And so a lot of times we try to find purpose in our work. And so if you're doing jobs, right, not a career necessarily, or something you really enjoy or love, or you're passionate about, it's a job. You're just doing it to make ends meet, to pay the bills he's talking about, to pay your insurance, to pay your taxes, to pay your car note. Yeah, it's gonna feel like you're on a hamster wheel that never ends. Every day is a Groundhog's Day, and you're just kind of like, why am I doing this? You know, why don't I go be like this homeless person, which is extreme, obviously. I understand this point, which is why I think it's important for us to have community, which I think as Americans, myself included, we are very individualistic. And a lot of us nowadays, especially millennials, zennials, Gen Z, we lack community to a certain degree. And a lot of us are single. So it's kind of like we're on our own, we're going to work, we're paying bills. What else is there?
Hey, I don't give a what nobody say. It has never been this expensive to live, ever. Like in no era when motherfuckers was making $1 an hour, it was never this expensive to live. Eggs, $10 a piece. Like you walk in the store, you get 3 things, you at $65. Obviously, I just went, grocery shopping, so I'm venting a little bit, but like this shit don't make no sense. It really makes absolutely no sense how expensive it is. Like, so if you ain't got a partner that's really ready and willing to help you out and like really like build this shit together, man, get the fuck on. Like, ain't gonna lie, this is not the time to be taking care of nobody else. If motherfucker ain't helping, they are literally hindering your ability to be able to get shit done.
All right, so, okay, let's stick to it sounds like he's going through some relationship problems, is what it sounds like. We'll leave that to the side. Although, I will say he's right that, okay, listen, I've said this before in other videos, I'll say it again in this video. I do think that one of the biggest issues with the cost of living for us now is that we are all living by ourselves. People are not getting in relationships like they were before, or they're doing it a lot later. So, obviously, the system that we are in is not necessarily set up for a bunch of individual peoples to be living their lives, having their own apartment to just them and not spreading costs between two people at least. So I think that's a big thing he's saying there. And he's taking it a step further, saying some people, if they're not adding and helping you in this tough economy, you should drop them. That's kind of what I got there. But again, that aside, are things really more expensive now than they have been historically? That's something I really am curious about. Let's find out. Okay, so I'm consulting my friend ChatGPT. If you're not using ChatGPT, you should, because it's the cheat code. And I asked ChatGPT a simple question. Hello, can you please tell me if the cost of living in the United States in 2025 is more expensive than it was 30 years ago? And if so, why is that the case? What did ChatGPT tell me? Yes, on balance, the cost of living in the US in 2025 is substantially higher than it was 30 years ago. For instance, in the mid-1990s, in fact, many things cost more today by a wide margin, and real purchasing power has been eroded by inflation and other structural changes. So it's giving us some evidence down here. It's saying that according to inflation calculators based on the Consumer Price Index in the United States, prices have more than doubled since 1995. For example, $1,995 in 1995 is equivalent to purchasing power of $4,229 in 2025. Another example they say here is $21,800 in 1995 would correspond to about $46,343 in 2025. Let's go down a little bit further. They're giving more specific examples based upon different categories. So number one is general inflation, money supply growth. It says over time prices rise because supply money, demand for goods, and expectations shift. So central banks tend to allow modest positive inflation, for example, 2% per year in many developed economies. That means $1 today buys less than tomorrow. It says rising costs is the second one, and key components such as housing, health, education, and utilities. Now let me tell you something. The cost of education has gotten crazy. Why? Because colleges and universities can charge more. Why? Because they know that students can get loans from the federal government. That money is backed by the federal government. They know they're going to get their money, so they increase their costs. They increase their prices of education. That's one. Housing, that's a whole nother thing. We all know housing is getting crazy expensive because of a lot of factors, not to mention COVID being a really big driver of the cost of housing going through the roof. It says utilities and health. So it breaks it down here a little bit more. Land constraints, zoning restrictions, population growth in desirable areas, and rising construction costs push up housing more quickly than average. A lot of that's because of supply and demand. A lot of people want to live in certain areas, but there's not enough houses in those areas being built, or new houses being built. And a lot of that is for different reasons. This says zoning is one of the reasons. A lot of people that own homes in these desirable areas are petitioning their local government to put in place laws that restrict or make it very, very difficult and prohibit development and building of new homes. So lower inventory means the inventory that is there is going to be increased in price because more people are vying for those properties. It says healthcare and insurance, medical costs, newer technologies, aging population, education costs, tuition and fees of colleges, universities often outpace general inflation. We know why that is. Energy, utilities, infrastructure. It says, though volatile energy costs, electricity, gas. Then this goes on some more stuff, changes in quality and features of technological advances. Some goods are more expensive because they are better, higher quality, more features. For example, a modern car has more safety electronics options than 95, and part of the price increase is quality inflation, which I find interesting because I thought that once you have new technology, once it hits a certain critical mass, the cost comes down. Think flat screen TVs. When flat screen TVs first came out, they were very, very, very expensive. And as more people started to adopt them and buy them, and they were being able to produce, and they were being produced at a larger, more mass scale, the cost to buy that TV came down. So I'm interested in this. I know new technology tends to cost more, but once it becomes more widely adopted, it comes down. So that's interesting as well. Changes in consumption pattern. Over time, households shift to what they consume. For example, more electronic services, more healthcare, which may have higher inflation rates. If your basket of goods is different today than 95, your cost of living, okay. So in 1995, some of the things that we enjoy today didn't exist. A lot of technological things, for example, which cost more than the basket of goods people were buying back in 1995. That makes sense. Supply constraints, scarcity, land, we talked about that. Wage and growth, let's see. To attract labor, firms often must raise wages, benefits, and comply with the minimum wage rules, which in turn raise the cost of goods and services. Especially in labor-intensive ones. Interesting. I wonder if this is a situation where it's like more money in the market means that more money is there to stimulate the economy. People buy more goods and thus drive up the prices, which is kind of a catch-22. I could be understanding that incorrectly. Again, if you know better than me, which just let me know in the comment section. External shocks, oil prices, of course, spikes, supply shocks, pandemics, of course, geopolitical events, Of course, that all makes sense. And then relative versus absolute differences. Some things may become relatively cheaper. Okay, that's what I was talking about. For example, electronics, computing, communication. That's exactly what I was talking about. But the essentials, housing, health, transport, often rise faster, shifting where your budget goes. Okay.
Why is being alive so damn expensive? I'm not even having a good time. I can't stand when people text me talking about what you doing after work. I'm going fucking home. What you want to do, because it costs too much to fucking stop anywhere along that route from my work to my house. You make one stop, $50. $50 damn dollars. You ain't even got a bag of shit. You got like 2 items and it's like $50. No, we ain't having a good time. We ain't stopping nowhere. Where was you wanting to go? Out to the bar? Nah, we'll drink at home where it's cheap. You know what I'm saying? I can't be paying $12 for a drink and a tip. Damn it. That shit get too fucking high. We gotta go buy a bottle at the liquor store and bring it home or something like that. And nowhere else. Where else are you gonna go? We ain't going to no Five Below. Not Five Below. What's a golf place called? Shit, that shit high as hell too. And you want to drink?
Come on.
Not even on motherfucking payday is I'm gonna make that shit work. And can we get these groceries under control? Damn it, because I need to go grocery shopping today and I ain't got it right now. I don't want to do this. Somebody help me, adult in life today. But yeah, no. Well, it's cost too much to fucking breathe air in this sound. We need to get air on a cheaper cost rate. Let's go.
Okay, so let me just say he's spot on with the whole let's go chill at home, let's not go to the bar. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll still go out with friends. We'll grab a drink at the bar, 1 or 2 drinks. Hey, I got it this time. I'll cover it. Next time my friend covers it. Next time my other friend covers it. We kind of go that way. You know, fine. That's cool. You want to get out every now and then. But I'll be honest, sometimes it's like, dude, let's just stay home. Because he's so right. You walk out of your door and automatically you start to hear the sound of your bank account decreasing in amount that's in there. It's crazy. Like, I'll wake up in the morning, have my normal ritual. I'll go down the street. I'll go to a coffee shop. Well, I'll be honest, I'll go to McDonald's and I get a $1 iced coffee. But sometimes I go to the gas station and I'll get a coffee from the gas station. Don't ask why. And then sometimes I find myself now going to a different gas station. Don't ask me why. It's Wawa. And I'll buy a sub. And I'll have a sub in the morning and my coffee. Very weird combination. And then afterwards, right? Later on in the day after I'm done working, I'll go to the gym. After the gym, I'll probably go and I'll buy some meal, whether it's tacos or Chipotle or Sardi's, which is a Peruvian spot, or whatever. And, you know, maybe I go to the grocery store, get some fruit, grab some bottled water, because I drink this fancy glass. It's not fancy, but you know, Mountain Valley water. I don't drink out of plastic anymore. I guess I'm a little bougie, whatever, call me what you want. And so anyways, this is like a weekly thing, at least 3 times a week, 4 times a week when it comes to the food and the coffees every day, pretty much. The water's like, you know, every 2 weeks. Point is, there's barely a day I go without dropping at least $10 to $20. At least. It's almost unavoidable. So what he's saying is so right. You leave your house, you're going to spend money. So if you don't want to spend money, stay home.
I'm on one this morning. I just need to rant. I'm so tired of quite literally everything just going up in pricing. This whole year, starting in March, I've had increases in like everything. Increases that I was not expecting whatsoever. When I bought my property, I locked in at a really great rate. It was right before interest rates went up. So my mortgage and tax payments were comfortable, right? Starting in March, $175 extra going towards those payments. Shock.
Taxes.
I was literally hysterical because I just switched jobs. I was getting used to the new like income setup for myself, right? So that $175 per month was like ultra shock for me. The community I live in just had to redo all of the roofs in the community, right? And you would think that the HOA would take care of all of that. No. They took from the reserves. Plus, it was a set dollar amount per household. And when I tell you my jaw dropped with how much money it was per household, I'm in a condo. So I barely have like a full freaking roof on my house. And they're $12,000, $12K. Do I just have that lying around right now? No, not at all. So that's a monthly payment of $130 over the next however many years. I think it's 10 years till it's paid off. And do you know how much interest that's going to? I can't. It hurts my soul. Outside of that, my HOA just notified us today that it's going up $28 a month. That might not seem like a lot, but now our HOA bill is literally going to be $370 because there's an online service fee too. So that's included in that $370. Just what else is going to go up? I don't know if my wallet can physically handle any more expenses going up. I'm just, it's so crazy how expensive life is.
Okay, some quick math off the top of my head based upon what she said. If I remember correctly, she said 175 for so I'm assuming it's taxes and insurance went up. So it's 175 plus the assessment's 130. So 275 plus 30 is about $310, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Plus the $30 for the, whatever the last thing she said was. So where am I at? About 340, 350. That's a significant amount of money when you weren't planning for that. A lot of people, when they buy a home, they don't take into account that even though you get a fixed rate mortgage, like most people do for 30 years, that's the standard that most people get, it doesn't mean that everything is fixed. The principal and the interest payments are fixed. The taxes and the insurance and the HOA and the condo fees are not fixed. So it's one thing to live in the HOA, you already pay that. Okay, that's gonna go up. Most things go up, they don't come down. You know what's funny? It's not funny actually, but so where I'm at, every 3 years, by the way, so check where you're at because it might be different. Where I'm at, before I buy a house, I'm gonna look to see when it was last assessed. Because if it was assessed, let's say this year, then I know for the next 3 years, including this year, so 2 years really, because this year's almost over, that is what the tax rate will be. And then after the 2 years is done, the third year rolls around again, they'll reassess it. And based upon the value of the house, whether it went up or down, they're going to most likely change the tax rate or the amount that I'm paying in taxes. So for her, what she probably didn't take into account is whatever her tax rate was at the time of purchase, that was probably maybe close to around when it was about to be assessed again. So then it got assessed again. As we all know, home values on paper anyways have been going up. And so now your tax rate goes up. The cost to insure that property now goes up, along with other factors nationwide. Whenever you have an assessment, or I should say this, whenever you're gonna buy a condo, I'm not a big fan of condos. If you own a condo, no problem, your prerogative. I'm not a fan. And this is one of the reasons why. Whenever you buy a condo, you have to make sure that you work with an agent who knows what they're looking for, someone who can help you go through the CC&Rs, I think they call it, something covenants and restrictions. And you wanna see and you want to talk to the board or the association and see what are the upcoming assessments, because they have these big assessments like she just said, and they spread it over however many years, and now that's your new, you have to add that now to your monthly payments for however long. Like she said, 10 years, unexpected. These things people don't take into account. And obviously we know that where we live is the biggest expense that most of us, probably all of us have, unless you have a paid off house. It's going to be where you live, your mortgage or your rent. And so if you stick yourself with a mortgage for 30 years, you have to prepare for it to go up. I prepare for it to go up every single year. I simply do. The houses I own, I'm already assuming I'm going to get a letter in the mail. I have escrow for each house. I'm already assuming I'm gonna get a letter in the mail each year telling me that I have an escrow shortfall and I have to pay extra per month or pay a lump sum to cover the difference that they need in the account for the tax increase and the insurance increase. It's like clockwork. It just never fails. I've only one time out of the last 8 years got a letter from my mortgage company saying that they are going to, reduce my monthly payment because there was extra money in the escrow account. One time, it was a very little amount. So long story short, you have to do your due diligence when you're buying a house. It's not something you should take lightly. And this is the reason why. Because again, $370, that's a big deal.
Bro, how are people making it? If you making $30 an hour, it's weird to ask that, but how are you making it? After you pay your rent, $1,500 a month, that's on the low side. Car note, $500 a month. Phone bill, $100 a month. Insurance, gas, food, electricity, health insurance, all these day-to-day expenses. How are people making it? You do the math, and you come back and tell me what the numbers look like for you. Because a person can make $30 an hour and is going to struggle. I can only imagine making $15 an hour. You cannot live on that. No, you cannot. You cannot convince me otherwise. You cannot live on $15 or $30 an hour, or you're gonna stay broke. Convince me different. Bro, how are people making it? Convince me different.
Okay, so he made me really think about it, and I'm like, okay, how are people really affording to live? And so I went to Reddit really quickly. I just typed in, I forgot what I typed in, how do people afford to pay rent? And this came up. Now, obviously, cost of living is more than just rent. Like he said, there's groceries, there's utilities, there's health insurance, there's car notes, there's student loans, all these different things. But as I mentioned earlier, rent and mortgage is the biggest expense. So if you are struggling with that, you're gonna be struggling with other things as well. So let's see what people on Reddit have to say about it, because I'm very, very curious what everyday people are saying about how they can afford rent. So this person says, recently my wife and I, we are in our late 20s, have been looking to move closer to my parents. Currently, we live in Middle South Carolina, where we own our house and pay around $1,300 a month for our mortgage. Due to home costs and other factors, we are looking to rent instead of own for now, but just looking at rent prices in Northern South Carolina is giving me so much anxiety. This is in South Carolina, where the median household income is like $55K, and the rent prices in the northern part of the state are about $1,750 a month for 2 bedrooms. We will need the office space for both our jobs. Both our salaries together, I make a strong salary and she is a teacher, is well above this median income, and these rent prices are outrageous even for us. After the extra fees, pet rent, etc., and utilities, we have gotten through half our monthly income. What about car payments, phone payments, student loan payments, and food? There you go. Other loans we currently have, exactly, medical debt, or even affording going to the doctor, absolutely. I mean, we want to have kids soon, but how will we afford it? We are going to be scraping by, and I feel like we should be making plenty of money, especially for the area we live in. How are normal people affording these rent prices, like people making around the median salary range? Am I just not looking at the right places? So this person represents the middle of America. He represents the average person. He's asking, how are people doing it? Especially in a place like South Carolina, which should be a medium to lower cost of living area. Let's see what people have to say. In short, they can't. Your situation swings the reality that normal people have decided to not have kids. Many people move to shared house and it lowers everyone's individual cost, but overall rents are sky high. Have you considered refinancing your existing house to a new 30-year term and rent it out? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so yeah, some person saying that people are foregoing having kids. That's one way to do it. And people are living in communal living. So they're like renting out rooms. I know people personally who rent out rooms. I own the house that I used to live in. When I lived in it, I rented out the rooms in the house to offset the mortgage. So that is, and I know, like I said, friends, family who are renting rooms because the cost of rent by itself, like an apartment complex, is too expensive. And so they're renting rooms. Spot on. And I do a lot of people who are delaying or foregoing having kids because they are afraid of how much it costs. So that's spot on too. Someone says, seriously, there's no answer to this. The system is just, you see that? I pay rent for 1 bedroom, 4-bed apartment with 4 separate leases. 4-bed apartment with 4 separate leases. Oh, they're sharing rooms. And base rent for that alone is $850 for a room and a closet. Parking is another $100. I'm 20 and very, very few people I know have a realistic, sustainable plan to even leave their parents' homes due to this. Again, the shared living space. Like I said, I know people personally who rent out rooms. People who make the median salary or less are either living with their parents, lots of roommates, or paying a much smaller mortgage because they bought their property 10 or more years ago. So we talked about the first 2 points already. That last one is a new one, but they bought their property a long time ago. 2 properties I own, I bought one in 2017, February 2017, the other one March 2019. Both pre-COVID, both sub 4% interest rates, and so the cash flow. And if I was to live in one of them, I could comfortably afford the mortgage for either. If I bought those same houses today with the same, or with current mortgage rates, with what the market value is for the homes today, I could still afford the payments, but it would be a lot less comfortable, put it that way. So if you bought your home a while ago when interest rates were lower, or even if you bought a home a while ago when interest rates were high, but you refinanced when that historically low interest rates were happening, then you're in a much better position. And again, as I said, your biggest expense is where you live. So if that's low, then that makes everything else much easier. So this is a key point here. Consider combining households with your parents. A lot of people are living at home. I do think that generational housing is not a bad thing. I have friends who are not from here. They're from a different country, and they are brothers, and they both live with their parents. They all communal. They have kids, or one does right now, and the other one, 2 of them, and another one's gonna have some soon. And their plan is to just live together. And they have a decent sized house, and their plan is to buy another house next door or across the street, or sell that house and buy a bigger one, and everyone live together. And I think that that's not such a bad thing if you can stand to do that. Let's read one more and see what they have to say. It says single, middle, low income here. Okay, single, middle, low income. Rent is $1,500 for a small basement. They're renting the basement for $1,500. So half my income goes to rent, and at the end of the month, I have $300 left for savings or fun. It's tough, it's depressing, the system is broken, and eventually will change as it is not sustainable. All right, guys, so that's that. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Let me know what you think about the state of affairs, how expensive things are, how are you getting by, how are you surviving or hopefully thriving. I hope to hear from you. I enjoy reading the comments, and until next time, make smart financial decisions.